My name is Selena. I am 35 years old and work as an accountant in Chicago. My perfectly organized life was turned upside down when my sister Mia showed up at my doorstep with her two children, Noah and Emma. She asked me to watch them for just a few hours, but then she vanished without a trace. Her phone went straight to voicemail, and I was left completely overwhelmed. I have never taken care of children before, and now I have two scared kids looking at me for answers I do not have. Before I tell you what happened next, let me know where you are watching from in the comments below. Hit that like button and subscribe to see more stories about family bonds being tested in unexpected ways. My life before this chaos was meticulously planned. I worked at Wilson & Brooks accounting firm in downtown Chicago, where I had just been promoted to senior accountant. My apartment was spotless, everything labeled and in its place. My colleagues often joked about my color-coded calendar and how I scheduled even my coffee breaks. But that system worked for me. It gave me control in a world where so many things are unpredictable. Mia and I used to be inseparable growing up. Just 2 years apart, we shared clothes, secrets, and dreams. But things changed when she met James at 25. He was charming and ambitious, working in real estate development. Within 6 months, they were married, and within another year, Noah was born. Emma followed 2 years later. I tried to stay close, but James always seemed uncomfortable around me. He would make subtle comments about how my career focus made me less of a woman, or how sad it was that I was still single. Mia would laugh it off, saying he was just joking, but I could feel the wedge being driven between us. The last time I saw Mia was at Thanksgiving about 6 months ago. We had dinner at our parents' house in Milwaukee. I noticed something was off. Her usual vibrant energy was gone. She barely touched her food, and when our mom asked if everything was okay, she plastered on a smile that never reached her eyes. When I hugged her goodbye, she held on a little too long. I should have said something then. That thought haunts me now. It was a Tuesday morning when my doorbell rang unexpectedly. I was getting ready for work, already dressed in my gray pencil skirt and white blouse, coffee in hand. When I opened the door, I almost did not recognize Mia. Her usually styled hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail. Dark circles shadowed her eyes, and her face was pale, almost gray. Behind her stood Noah and Emma, both looking tired and confused. "Selena, thank God you are home," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "I need a huge favor." Before I could respond, she was already ushering the children inside. Noah, now 7, gave me a small wave. 5-year-old Emma clutched a worn stuffed rabbit, her eyes wide and uncertain. "I have an emergency," Mia continued, placing a duffel bag on my floor. "Just need you to watch the kids for a few hours. I packed their favorite snacks, some clothes, and their tablets for entertainment." "Mia, what is going on? You look terrible," I said, placing my coffee down and taking her hands. They were ice cold despite the warm spring morning. "It is just a small thing I need to take care of," she replied, avoiding my eyes. "Nothing to worry about. I will be back tonight, tomorrow morning at the latest." Something in her voice set off alarm bells. Should I be worried? Does this have something to do with James? At the mention of his name, she stiffened. No, everything is fine with James. He is just away on business. Look, I really need to go. The kids already had breakfast and they are good at entertaining themselves." She knelt down to hug her children. "Be good for Aunt Selena. Okay, Mommy will be back soon." Emma clung to her. "Promise?" "Promise, sweetie," Mia said, kissing the top of her head. "Noah, take care of your sister." Noah nodded solemnly, far too serious for a 7-year-old. Then Mia was gone, hurrying down the hall without looking back. It wasn't until hours later that I realized she hadn't left me her new phone number or where she was staying. The number I had for her went straight to voicemail every time I called. That first afternoon was awkward and tense. I called my office to say I would be working from home due to a family emergency. My boss was not happy, but I had enough sick days accumulated to buy me some time. I had no idea what to feed children. Did they nap? What kind of games should I play with them? Noah was quiet, answering my questions with single words. Emma kept asking when her mommy was coming back. Each time I forced a smile and said, "Soon, sweetie, very soon." The lie tasted bitter on my tongue. By evening, I was frantic. Mia wasn't answering her phone, and the kids needed dinner. I ordered pizza, which seemed to momentarily cheer them up. Emma spilled juice on my white rug, and I had to remind myself that it did not matter. What mattered was the trembling lip and the tears threatening to spill from her eyes when she thought I would be angry. "It is okay, Emma," I said, dabbing at the stain. "It is just a rug." Bedtime was another challenge. I only had one spare bedroom, so I gave it to the kids and took the couch for myself. Neither child wanted to sleep. Noah kept getting up to check the front door. Emma cried for her mother. I ended up sitting between them on the bed, reading story after story from books I found in their bag, then making up my own when those ran out. Eventually, they fell asleep, Emma curled against my side, Noah at the foot of the bed like a watchful guardian. I sat there in the dark, listening to their breathing, wondering what had happened to my sister and why she felt she could not tell me the truth. The next morning, I woke with a stiff neck from sleeping awkwardly on the edge of the bed. The kids were still asleep, tangled in the covers. For a moment, I just watched them, struck by how much they looked like Mia when she was young. The same dark lashes, the same slight furrow of concentration, even in sleep. I had to call my office again. My boss, Julia, was definitely not happy this time. "Selena, the Harrington audit is due Friday," she said sharply. "We need you here." "I understand, but this is a family emergency," I explained, keeping my voice low as I stood in the hallway outside the bedroom. "My sister had to leave town suddenly, and I am watching her children." "Can't someone else watch them?" "Your parents. A babysitter." I didn't mention that our parents were on a cruise in Alaska, unreachable for another week, and I wasn't about to leave two traumatized children with a stranger. "I will work remotely as much as possible," I promised, "and I will bring the Harrington files home tonight." Julia sighed heavily. "This isn't like you, Selena. I hope everything is okay." After hanging up, I decided to properly examine the bag Mia had left. Inside were several changes of clothes for each child, their toothbrushes, the stuffed rabbit Emma had been clutching, and a few action figures for Noah. At the bottom of the bag, tucked into a side pocket, I found an envelope. My hands trembled as I opened it. Inside was $500 in cash and a handwritten note. "Selena, I am so sorry. I need some time. Please keep the kids safe. I will explain everything when I can. Thank you for always being there. Love, Mia." I sat down hard on the couch, the note crumpling slightly in my grip. This wasn't a few hours or even overnight. Mia was planning to be gone for days, maybe longer. What had happened that was so terrible she would leave her children behind? I continued searching the bag and found Mia's wallet tucked into another pocket. Her driver's license, credit cards, and a few family photos were inside. And wedged between the credit cards was a business card for a divorce attorney named Diana Fletcher. On the back was a handwritten appointment date from 2 weeks ago. My heart sank. Mia was planning to leave James. But why hadn't she told me? And why disappear like this? I tried calling James next, but his phone also went straight to voicemail. I left a message trying to sound casual. "Hi, James. It is Selena, just checking in. Give me a call when you get this." The kids woke up soon after, and I made them cereal for breakfast, thankful that I at least knew what children ate in the morning. While they ate, I gently tried to get information from Noah. "Noah, has everything been okay at home lately?" I asked, trying to sound conversational. He shrugged, poking at his cereal. "I guess." "Do Mom and Dad argue sometimes?" He looked up, then his eyes too, knowing for a child. "Dad gets mad a lot, especially when he comes home late." "Late from work?" Noah shrugged again. "I do not know. Mom says not to ask him questions when he is in a bad mood." Emma piped up. "Daddy yells really loud. It scares Bunny." She hugged her stuffed rabbit tighter. I felt sick. What exactly had been happening in my sister's home? Later that day, I searched for James on social media, hoping to find some clue. His Facebook page was locked down, showing only a profile picture from several years ago. Mia's page hadn't been updated in months. I messaged a few mutual friends, but no one had heard from either of them recently. Desperate for help, I called my best friend Amanda. She arrived an hour later with coloring books and crayons for the kids. While they drew at the kitchen table, Amanda and I talked in hushed tones in the living room. "I have heard rumors," Amanda admitted, twisting her wedding ring nervously. "Katie's husband works with James sometimes. She said James has been having money problems, gambling debts. Some people have been looking for him. What kind of people? I asked, my mouth suddenly dry. Not nice ones, Amanda replied grimly. The kind who do not care if your family gets caught in the crossfire. I glanced over at Noah and Emma. Noah was helping his sister stay in the lines of her coloring book, his small face serious and focused. I noticed something then that made my blood run cold. A bruise on his upper arm partially hidden by his t-shirt sleeve. As if sensing my gaze, Noah looked up and quickly pulled his sleeve down. Our eyes met, and in that moment I knew this was much worse than I had imagined. That night, after the kids were asleep, I sat with Mia's note in one hand and the divorce attorney's card in the other, trying to piece together what might have happened. Had James become violent? Was Mia running from him, or from the people he owed money to? And most importantly, where was she now? On the third day of our unexpected arrangement, I decided I needed to see Mia's house for myself. I called Amanda again, who agreed to come stay with the kids while I made the 30-minute drive to the suburbs where Mia and James lived. If I am not back in 3 hours, call the police. I told her, only half joking. The neighborhood was quiet and well kept with neat lawns and 2-car garages. Mia's house stood out immediately. The grass was overgrown and several days' worth of newspapers lay scattered on the driveway. The blinds were drawn on all the windows. As I sat in my car gathering courage, an elderly woman emerged from the house next door. She looked curiously in my direction, then began watering her flower beds. I decided to take a chance and approached her. "Excuse me," I said with my most reassuring smile. "I am Selena, Mia's sister. I am just checking on the house while they are away. Have you seen either of them recently?" The woman, who introduced herself as Dorothy, shook her head. "Haven't seen hide nor hair of them for about a week now. The little ones, too. Is everything all right? It is not like Mia to let her garden go like this." "Everything is fine," I lied smoothly. "Just some unexpected travel. The kids are actually staying with me for a few days." Dorothy's expression softened. "Those are good children, especially the boy so protective of his little sister. Reminds me of my son at that age." She hesitated, then added, "There was quite a commotion over there last week, shouting late at night. I almost called the police, but then it got quiet." I thanked her for the information and made my way to the front door. Years ago, Mia had given me a spare key for emergencies. This certainly qualified. My hand shook slightly as I unlocked the door. The smell hit me first. Not decay, thankfully, but the stale air of a house that had been closed up for days mixed with something sour like old food. I moved through the entryway into the living room, where cushions were askew on the couch and a coffee mug lay on its side on the carpet, the stain long dried. In the kitchen, dishes were piled in the sink and a half-empty bottle of wine sat on the counter. The refrigerator held mostly condiments and a carton of milk that had gone bad. On the kitchen table was a stack of mail. I flipped through it, my stomach tightening at what I found. Past due notices for the electricity and water, a final warning from their mortgage company, and most disturbing, an envelope with no return address that contained only a typed note. "Time's up. We know where you live." I moved upstairs, my heart pounding. The master bedroom looked like a tornado had hit it. Dresser drawers hung open, clothes strewn about. The bedside lamp lay shattered on the floor. On James's nightstand was a smashed cell phone, the screen spider webbed with cracks. In the bathroom, the medicine cabinet stood open, several prescription bottles missing from where I remembered them being during my last visit. Mia's makeup was scattered across the counter, a tube of lipstick ground into the white tile. The children's rooms were less chaotic, but still showed signs of hasty packing. Favorite toys were missing, but plenty remained. In Noah's room, superhero posters hung on the walls, and a baseball glove lay forgotten on the floor. Emma's room was a shrine to unicorns and princesses, her bed still unmade. I sat on Emma's small bed trying to process what I was seeing. This wasn't a planned trip. This was a household in crisis. I returned to the master bedroom and began a more methodical search. In Mia's bedside table, I found nothing unusual, but when I checked under the mattress, my fingers touched something hard, a small notebook with a floral cover. Mia's journal. I hesitated. This felt like an invasion of privacy, but my sister was missing and her children were scared. Privacy would have to wait. The first few entries were mundane, dating back several months. Mia wrote about the children's school activities and new recipes she tried plans for their summer vacation. But about 2 months ago, the tone changed dramatically. James came home at 3 a.m. again, says he was working, but I smelled alcohol and perfume. When I confronted him, he threw his phone at the wall. I'm scared, but I don't know what to do. Where would I go with the kids? A week later. Found out today why James has been so stressed. He's been gambling again, but this time it's worse. He owes people money. Dangerous people, he says. He's talking about taking out a second mortgage. I told him no. He didn't like that. And most chillingly, from just 10 days ago, Jay shoved me tonight. Noah saw it happen. The look on my son's face broke something inside me. I have to get out. Called a lawyer today. Making plans. Need to be careful. They're watching the house. The final entry was from 3 days before she showed up at my apartment. Got the money from our secret account. Not enough to pay them off, but enough to disappear for a while. Jay doesn't know about it. Taking the kids to Selena's tomorrow. She'll keep them safe until I can figure this out. God forgive me for what I'm about to do. Tucked into the back of the journal was a small slip of paper with an address and phone number for New Beginnings Women's Shelter in Indianapolis, about 3 hours away. I sat there, journal in hand, as pieces began falling into place. Mia was running from James, from his gambling debts, from the dangerous people he owed money to. But why leave the children with me instead of taking them along? My phone rang, startling me so badly I nearly dropped the journal. Unknown number. My thumb hovered over the screen before I answered. Hello? I said cautiously. Silence on the other end. Just breathing. Then a click as the call disconnected. I quickly gathered the journal, the threatening note, and some of the past due bills, shoving them into my purse. As I locked the front door behind me, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. The next morning, I decided the kids needed some fresh air and normalcy. We had been cooped up in my apartment for days, and the walls were beginning to close in on us. I took them to a small park a few blocks away, hoping the sunshine and playground would lift their spirits. Noah seemed reluctant at first, but eventually joined a few boys in a game of tag. Emma delighted in the swings, laughing for the first time since their arrival as I pushed her higher. For a brief moment, everything felt almost normal. That feeling shattered when I spotted a tall figure watching us from near the park entrance. Even from a distance, I recognized James. He stood with his hands in his pockets, sunglasses hiding his eyes, but his stance was unmistakable. My heart jumped into my throat. Noah, I called, trying to keep my voice steady. Emma, time for a snack? Noah looked over, saw his father, and froze. Emma, oblivious, complained about leaving the swings. I quickly lifted her off, holding her on my hip as Noah ran to my side, positioning himself slightly behind me. James approached, slowly removing his sunglasses. Up close, he looked terrible. Unshaven, with bloodshot eyes and a sour smell that suggested he hadn't showered in days. The charming, confident man I remembered was gone, replaced by someone desperate and volatile. Where is she? He demanded without preamble. Hello to you too, James, I replied instinctively, stepping back. I do not know where Mia is. She left the kids with me a few days ago and said she would be back. I have been trying to reach you. His laugh was harsh. Right. Like you two don't have this all planned out. She takes my money, you hide my kids. Real cute, Selena. Daddy, Emma said, reaching out one small hand before withdrawing it when James didn't respond. They are not hidden, I said, keeping my voice calm for the children's sake. They are safe with family while Mia handles some things. What things I do not know, because unlike what you think, she didn't tell me anything. James stepped closer, his face flushed with anger. Don't play dumb with me. I know she's been planning this for weeks, taking my children, clearing out our account. Did she tell you I hit her? Is that the story she's going with? Noah's grip on my jacket tightened. I could feel him trembling. Did you? I asked quietly. Something flickered in James's eyes. Shame, maybe, or just calculation. Marriage is complicated. You wouldn't understand. I understand that your children are scared right now, I said, and that you're not exactly presenting yourself as father of the year at the moment. His expression darkened. I am taking my kids home now. This little game is over, He reached for Emma, who shrieked and buried her face in my shoulder. Noah moved completely behind me. "No!" Noah shouted, surprising all of us. "We don't want to go with you." James's face contorted with rage. "You don't get a choice, buddy. I am your father. Is everything okay here?" We all turned to see a man watching us with concern. He was tall, with broad shoulders, dressed in running clothes, a friendly but alert expression on his face. "Family matter," James snapped. "Mind your business." The stranger looked at me, then at the children's frightened faces. "Ma'am, everything all right?" "We're fine," I said, though my voice betrayed me by cracking. "Just a misunderstanding." James glared at the stranger, then at me. "This isn't over. I am calling the police. You can't keep my children from me. Kidnapping is a serious charge, Selena." With that, he stormed off, shoving past the stranger who had intervened. "Thank you," I said to the man who introduced himself as Mark. "That could have gotten ugly." "No problem," Mark replied, still watching James's retreating figure. "Those your kids?" "My niece and nephew," I explained. "It is complicated." "Family usually is," he said with a kind smile. "Want me to walk you home, just to be safe?" I hesitated, wary of trusting a stranger, but something in his genuine concern made me nod. We gathered the children's things and left the park, taking a circuitous route back to my apartment building. Mark waited until we were safely inside before leaving. As I closed the door behind us, the reality of what had just happened hit me. James knew where I lived. He was angry, possibly dangerous, and had threatened to involve the police. I couldn't go back to my apartment tonight. I called Amanda again, blessing whatever twist of fate had given me such a loyal friend. Within an hour, we were at her house across town, the children settled in her guest room with a Disney movie playing on the TV. "You need to call the police yourself," Amanda urged as we sat at her kitchen table. "Report Mia as missing. Get ahead of whatever James is planning." "And tell them what?" I asked, rubbing my temples where a headache was forming. "That my sister left her kids with me voluntarily and might be hiding from her abusive husband. That doesn't sound like a police priority." "Then call a lawyer," Amanda insisted. "You need to protect yourself and those kids." She was right. I had stepped into something much bigger than a simple family disagreement. I was now responsible for two children whose parents were both missing, one possibly in danger, the other possibly dangerous himself. That night, I hardly slept, jumping at every sound, checking on the children repeatedly. Noah had nightmares, crying out in his sleep. I sat with him until he settled his small hand, clutching mine even in sleep. Whatever was happening, one thing was clear: these children needed protection, and right now I was their only shield. The next morning, I contacted the police to file a missing person report for Mia. The officer who took my statement, a Sergeant Rodriguez, seemed unimpressed by my concerns. "So your sister left her kids with you willingly, didn't specify when she'd return, but left money and supplies," he summarized, barely looking up from his form. "And her husband, the children's father, has made contact wanting to see his kids. Sounds like a domestic dispute to me, ma'am. Not a missing person case." "She's been gone for 4 days without contact," I insisted. "That's not like her, and I found evidence that her husband might be abusive." At this, Rodriguez finally looked at me. "What kind of evidence?" I showed him the journal entries and explained about the bruises on Noah, the frightened way both children reacted to their father. "Did you witness any abuse firsthand?" he asked. "No, but has either child disclosed abuse to you directly?" "Not in those words, but—" Rodriguez sighed. "Look, Ms. Wilson, I understand you're concerned. But without direct evidence or testimony, this remains a family matter. Your sister is an adult who chose to leave. The children have at least one legal guardian who wants them back." I felt panic rising in my chest. "So you're saying I should just hand them over to James, even though I have reason to believe he might hurt them?" "I'm saying you don't have legal custody," he replied. "If Mr. Harris files a police report claiming you're keeping his children from him, that could become a criminal matter." I left the police station feeling defeated and more frightened than before. My next stop was the law office of Diana Fletcher, the divorce attorney whose card I'd found in Mia's wallet. Diana was a sharp-featured woman in her 50s with keen eyes that missed nothing. After I explained the situation, she leaned back in her chair with a thoughtful expression. Mia consulted with me about filing for divorce and requesting an emergency custody order, she confirmed. She was concerned about her husband's gambling debts and mentioned some incidents that suggested escalating aggression, but she never formally retained me or filed any paperwork. Did she mention where she might go if she needed to leave quickly? I asked. Diana shook her head. She mentioned family out of state, but no specifics. I gave her information about domestic violence resources, including shelters, like New Beginnings in Indianapolis. A flicker of recognition crossed Diana's face. That might have been one of them, yes? I showed her the journal entries. Diana read them carefully, her expression grave. This is concerning, she admitted. But without Mia here to verify these writings, they wouldn't carry much weight legally. Your temporary care of the children, while well-intentioned, doesn't override parental rights. So what do? I can't just hand them over to James. Diana considered this. You could file for emergency temporary guardianship citing abandonment by the mother and concerns about the father's fitness. It would be an uphill battle without Mia's support, but it might buy you some time. She helped me draft the necessary paperwork, though she couldn't represent me officially, since that would be a conflict of interest with her consultation with Mia. I would need to find my own attorney, and fast. As I left her office, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Move the kids somewhere safe. Jay knows where you live. Will contact when I can. My blood ran cold. Was it from Mia? Or someone trying to lure me out? I couldn't take chances. I drove directly to the address of the New Beginnings shelter in Indianapolis, hoping against hope that Mia might be there. The shelter was located in a nondescript building with security cameras and a buzzer entry system. I explained my situation to the woman, who answered, a compassionate but firm individual named Sarah. We can't confirm or deny if anyone is staying with us, she explained. That's our policy for everyone's safety. I understand, I said desperately. But if my sister is here or has been here, please just tell her that Selena came looking for her and that Noah and Emma are safe with me, but that James is looking for them. Sarah's expression softened slightly. I'll make sure that message gets passed along to anyone it might concern. It wasn't much, but it was something. As I returned to my car, another text came through from the same unknown number. Not safe to call. Jay watching phones. Take kids out of city. Will contact when can. I made a split-second decision. I would take the children somewhere James wouldn't think to look. Somewhere we could lay low until I figured out next steps or Mia made contact. I withdrew cash from an ATM, bought a disposable phone, and found a small vacation rental cabin about 2 hours outside the city that accepted same-day bookings. I told Amanda my plan, promising to check in daily, then picked up the children from her house. We're going on a little adventure, I told them, trying to sound excited rather than terrified. Like a mini vacation. Won't that be fun? Emma seemed enthusiastic, but Noah watched me with those two knowing eyes. Is Mom going to meet us there? He asked quietly. I couldn't lie to him. I don't know, buddy. I hope so. But for now, it's just going to be the three of us, okay? He nodded solemnly. Are we hiding from Dad? My heart broke a little at the question. We're just taking some time away while grown-ups figure things out, I said carefully. The cabin was rustic but clean, with 2 small bedrooms, a kitchenette, and a living area with a fireplace. The property was secluded, surrounded by trees, with a small pond visible from the back porch. Under different circumstances, it would have been idyllic. That first night, I sat on the porch after the children were asleep, watching the moon reflect on the pond's surface. I felt completely out of my depth. I was an accountant, for heaven's sake. My life was spreadsheets and tax codes, not dramatic escapes and custody battles. Yet here I was, hiding in a cabin in the woods with my sister's children, running from her potentially dangerous husband, with no idea where she was or when this nightmare would end. I checked my new phone obsessively for messages, but there were none. I wondered if Mia was doing the same somewhere alone and afraid. Or worse, if she couldn't check at all. The thought kept me awake all night, listening to every creak and rustle outside, imagining James somehow tracking us down. By morning, my eyes were gritty with exhaustion, but my resolve had hardened. Whatever it took, I would keep these children safe until Mia returned. If James or anyone else wanted to get to them, They would have to go through me first. Over the next week, a strange new routine began to emerge. Mornings were for homeschool activities that I cobbled together from online resources. Afternoons were for exploring the woods around the cabin, identifying plants and birds, or fishing in the pond with makeshift poles we created from sticks. Evenings were for board games found in the cabin's closet, stories by the fire, and quiet conversations. Slowly, the children began to open up to me. Noah's serious demeanor occasionally cracked to reveal a quick wit and boundless curiosity. Emma's fearfulness gave way to moments of exuberant joy, especially when we discovered a family of ducks living at the edge of the pond. But there were still difficult moments. Noah had nightmares almost every night, waking up crying or shouting. Emma would sometimes go quiet for hours, clutching her stuffed rabbit and sucking her thumb, a habit Mia had told me she'd outgrown years ago. During one of our nature walks, Noah finally told me more about what had been happening at home. "Dad changed," he said simply as we sat on a fallen log watching Emma gather wildflowers nearby. "He used to play baseball with me and read stories. Then he started coming home really late, or sometimes not at all." "When did this start?" I asked gently. Noah thought for a moment. "After Christmas, I think. Mom cried a lot. They thought I couldn't hear them fighting, but the walls in our house are thin." "What did they fight about?" "Money, mostly. Dad lost his job but didn't tell Mom right away. Then he started going out at night to play cards with his friends. Mom said he was gambling away our future." The adult phrase sounded strange coming from his young mouth. "Then some scary men came to our house one night. Dad wouldn't let them in, but they yelled through the door that he owed them money." My stomach tightened. "Did your dad ever hurt you or your mom?" Noah looked down at his hands. "He grabbed Mom really hard sometimes, left bruises. One time he pushed her and she hit her head on the counter. She said it was an accident, but I saw it happen." His voice dropped to a whisper. "He hit me once when I tried to stop him from yelling at Mom. Said I should learn to mind my own business if I knew what was good for me." I pulled him into a hug, feeling him stiffen before gradually relaxing against me. "None of that was your fault, Noah. You know that, right? You were very brave trying to protect your mom." He shrugged against my shoulder. "I should have tried harder." "No," I said firmly, pulling back to look him in the eyes. "You're a child. It's not your job to protect adults. It's their job to protect you." That evening, Emma showed me a drawing she'd made. It featured a large, dark figure with angry red scribbles for a face looming over smaller figures I assumed were her Noah and Mia. "Is this Daddy?" I asked carefully. She nodded, adding more red to the figure's hands. "He's mad all the time now. He breaks things. I don't like when he's mad." I hugged her close, fighting back tears. These children had been living in fear for months, and I hadn't known. Mia hadn't told me how bad things had gotten. Why was she ashamed? Afraid I would judge her? Or was she trying to protect me from James and his problems? On our 8th day at the cabin, I received a call from Sergeant Rodriguez. My heart raced as I answered. "Ms. Wilson, I'm calling to inform you that James Harris has filed a report alleging you've taken his children across state lines without permission. He's claiming parental kidnapping." "That's not true," I said quickly. "We're still in state and Mia left the children with me voluntarily." "Be that as it may, without documentation of that arrangement, and with Mr. Harris having legal custody as their father, you need to bring those children to the station immediately." "Has there been any sign of my sister?" I asked, changing the subject. A slight hesitation. "No official reports. But we did find something concerning. The bank accounts for both James and Mia Harris were emptied 2 days before she left the children with you. The withdrawal was made by Mia in person according to bank records." "She mentioned a secret account in her journal," I said. "Money she was saving to get away from James." "We've obtained security footage from the bank." Rodriguez continued, his tone softening slightly. "Your sister appears distressed in the video. She keeps looking over her shoulder as if afraid she's being followed." A chill ran down my spine. "I need to see that footage." "You'll need to come in. And bring the children, Ms. Wilson. Don't make this harder than it needs to be." I agreed to come in the next day, knowing I had little choice. I spent that night packing our things and preparing the children for the return to the city. I didn't tell them about James's allegations or the police involvement, only that we needed to go back to help find their mom. The next morning, as we were loading the car, my disposable phone rang. Unknown number. "Hello?" I answered cautiously. "Is this Selena Wilson?" a woman's voice asked. "Yes, who's this?" "This is Mercy Hospital in Chicago. We have a Jane Doe who was brought in last night. No ID, but she had your name and number written on a piece of paper in her pocket." My heart stopped. What happened to her? Is she okay? "She was found unconscious in Grant Park. Possible drug overdose, though we're running tests. She hasn't regained consciousness yet, but she's stable." "What does she look like?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. "Mid-30s, dark hair, about 5'6", a small tattoo of a butterfly on her left wrist." Not Mia. My sister had no tattoos. Relief flooded me, followed immediately by guilt. Some other woman was lying unconscious in a hospital, and here I was, grateful it wasn't my sister. "I'm sorry that's not my sister," I told the nurse. "I don't know who she might be." "I understand. If she wakes up, I'll let her know you were concerned." I hung up, hands shaking. False alarm, but it rattled me nonetheless. How many more days or weeks would pass with these moments of terror, these false hopes? How long could I keep the children in this limbo? We drove back to the city in silence, the children sensing my tension. As we approached Amanda's house, where I planned to drop off our things before going to the police station, my phone rang again. Amanda's number. "Selena," she said, her voice tight with excitement. "You need to get here right now. Don't go to the police station first." "What's happening?" "Just hurry," she said, then hung up. 20 minutes later, I pulled up in front of Amanda's house, the children dozing in the back seat after the long drive. As I parked, I looked up to see a figure standing on Amanda's porch. My heart stuttered in my chest. Even from a distance, I would know that silhouette anywhere. Mia. I sat frozen in the driver's seat, unable to believe what I was seeing. Mia stood on Amanda's porch, looking thinner than I remembered, with dark circles under her eyes and a small cut above her right eyebrow. But she was alive. She was here. "Mom." Noah's voice broke the spell as he spotted her from the back seat. Both children were suddenly wide awake, scrambling to unbuckle their seatbelts. I got out of the car on shaky legs, opening the back doors to let the kids tumble out. They ran to Mia, who knelt to catch them in her arms, holding them so tightly I could see her knuckles turn white. She was crying, murmuring their names over and over, covering their faces with kisses. I approached slowly, emotions warring within me. Relief that she was safe, joy at seeing the family reunited, but also anger, hot and unexpected, that she had put us all through this nightmare. Mia looked up as I reached the porch steps. "Selena," she said, her voice cracking. "I am so sorry." Emma was clinging to her mother's neck while Noah stood slightly apart now, watching with that serious expression that broke my heart. He had been forced to grow up too fast these past months. "Let's get inside," I said, noticing a neighbor watching curiously from across the street. "We have a lot to talk about." Amanda tactfully offered to take the children to the kitchen for ice cream, giving Mia and me privacy in the living room. As soon as they were out of earshot, I turned to my sister. "Where have you been?" I demanded, keeping my voice low, but unable to hide the anger. "Do you have any idea what we've been through?" "The kids have been terrified. James filed a kidnapping report against me. I thought you might be dead." Mia flinched, tears streaming down her face. I know I can never make this up to you or the kids, but I didn't have a choice, Selena." "There's always a choice," I shot back. "You could have told me what was happening. You could have taken the kids with you. You could have gone to the police." "No, I couldn't," she said, suddenly fierce despite her tears. "You don't understand what James has become, what he's involved in." She pushed her hair back, revealing more bruises along her jawline that makeup hadn't fully concealed. "James lost his job 6 months ago. He didn't tell me. Just kept leaving every day like he was going to work while actually he was gambling, trying to make money. When he lost big, he borrowed from the wrong people. Dangerous people." "The ones who came to your house," I said, remembering what Noah had told me. Mia looked surprised, then sad. Noah told you about that god? I thought they were asleep. She wiped at her tears. Yes. Men who work for someone named Vincent Karras, a loan shark with connections to organized crime. James borrowed $50,000. Lost it all. Borrowed more. It spiraled out of control. And he started taking it out on you and the kids. I finished for her. She nodded, her eyes dropping to her hands. It started with yelling, then breaking things, then pushing, grabbing. One night he hit Noah for getting between us during a fight. Her voice hardened. That was my breaking point. No one touches my children. So you decided to leave them with me and disappear. I couldn't keep the accusation from my voice. I had to, Mia insisted. Karras's men made it clear the debt would be paid one way or another. They mentioned the kids Selena. Said they were cute, that it would be a shame if anything happened to them. She shuddered at the memory. I knew I had a secret account James didn't know about. About $20,000 I'd been saving just in case. Not enough to pay off the debt, but enough to disappear with. Why not take the kids with you? Because they were watching the house, following me. I couldn't risk leading them to the children. So I made a plan. I withdrew the money, left the kids with you where they'd be safe, and used myself as bait. I figured they'd follow me instead of looking for the kids. The pieces started falling into place. You led them away from Chicago. Mia nodded. I drove to Indianapolis first, stayed at a shelter for 2 nights, then Cincinnati, then Louisville. Kept moving using cash, only staying in cheap motels or shelters. I was trying to find a way to negotiate with Karras directly to buy time to figure out how to pay the debt. Did it work? She gave a bitter laugh. In a way. I managed to get a meeting with him, offered him the money I had as a down payment, promised the rest if he'd leave my family alone. He agreed, but with conditions. He would take the $20,000 now, and I would work for him to pay off the rest. My blood ran cold. What kind of work? Nothing illegal, she assured me quickly. Office work at one of his businesses. He has legitimate ones too, to launder money. Minimum wage with every penny going toward the debt. It would take years, but the alternative was... She trailed off, not needing to finish the thought. And James, where does he fit in all this? Mia's expression darkened. James tried to pin everything on me when Karras's men came looking for him, said I had control of our finances, that I must have taken the money. He actually tried to offer me up to save himself. The disgust in her voice was palpable. When that didn't work, he disappeared too. I don't know where he is now, but he's been texting me threats saying he'll take the kids if I don't give him money. He found us, I told her. At the park. He threatened to call the police, claim I kidnapped the children. Which he did, Mia said grimly. Amanda told me. That's why I came back. I couldn't let you take the fall for my mess. She reached for my hand. Selena, I can never repay what you've done for my children. You kept them safe when I couldn't. The anger I had been holding on to began to dissolve, replaced by an overwhelming sadness for what my sister had endured. Why didn't you tell me sooner, before it got this bad? Shame, she admitted quietly. Pride. Fear that James would find out. Fear that you wouldn't understand or would think less of me for staying with him as long as I did. Pick a reason. Before I could respond, there was a knock at the front door. Amanda peeked into the living room, her expression tense. It's the police, she whispered. Mia paled but straightened her shoulders. Let them in. It's time to end this. Sergeant Rodriguez entered with a female officer he introduced as Detective Lisa Chen. Their expressions changed from stern to surprised when they saw Mia. Mrs. Harris, Rodriguez said. We've been looking for you. I know, Mia replied, and I'm ready to tell you everything. Over the next 2 hours, Mia recounted the whole story to the officers. She showed them her bruises, shared text messages from James, and explained about Karras and the debt. Detective Chen took detailed notes, her expression growing increasingly concerned. Financial abuse, physical abuse using the children as leverage, this is classic domestic violence escalation, she said when Mia finished. And the involvement of Karras is concerning. We've been building a case against him for years. What happens now? I asked. First, we need to locate James Harris, Rodriguez said. The kidnapping charges against you will be dropped. Ms. Wilson, now that we have Mrs. Harris's statement confirming she left the children in your care voluntarily. And my deal with Karis? Mia asked anxiously. We'll need you to give a formal statement about that, Chen replied. It could be vital to our ongoing investigation. In the meantime, we can offer protection and resources for you and your children. As if on cue, Noah and Emma came back into the room, ice cream smudged around their mouths. They stopped short when they saw the police officers' fear flashing across their small faces. It's okay, Mia assured them, holding out her arms. These officers are here to help us. Everything's going to be okay now. I wasn't sure if I believed that yet, but watching my sister hold her children, I felt hope for the first time in days. Later that evening, after the police had left with promises to return tomorrow for formal statements, Mia, the children, and I sat in Amanda's guest room, the kids finally asleep between us on the bed. What will you do now? I asked softly. Mia looked down at her sleeping children, gently brushing Emma's hair from her forehead. Start over. Find a job, a new place to live. File for divorce and full custody. She looked up at me, determination in her eyes. I won't let them grow up afraid anymore. I won't let them think that's what love looks like. You don't have to do it alone, I said, reaching across the sleeping children to take her hand. I'm here. Whatever you need. A week later, we received word that James had been arrested trying to cross the Canadian border. In his possession were fake IDs and most of the money Mia had withdrawn from their account, money he'd taken from her by force, according to her statement. The police also informed us that based on Mia's testimony and evidence from other witnesses, they had enough to charge Karis with extortion, assault, and various financial crimes. Mia would need to testify, but the prosecutor was confident about the case. In the months that followed, Mia and the children moved into a small apartment near mine. She found work as an office manager at a local clinic. Noah and Emma started therapy, slowly working through their trauma. There were still nightmares, still moments of fear when someone raised their voice or a door slammed too loudly. But there was healing too. James pled guilty to domestic violence charges and financial fraud to avoid a longer sentence. He was given 5 years with the possibility of parole after 3. The divorce was finalized with Mia receiving full custody. 1 year to the day after Mia first appeared at my door with her children, we sat in my living room celebrating Noah's 8th birthday. As I watched him blow out the candles on his cake surrounded by new friends from school, I marveled at the change in him. The serious, watchful child was giving way to a boy who laughed and played, and sometimes even acted silly as children should. Mia caught my eye across the room and smiled, mouthing a silent, "Thank you." She looked different too, stronger, more confident. The shadows that had haunted her eyes were fading. Later, after the party, when the children were occupied with Noah's new gifts, Mia and I sat on my balcony watching the sunset over the city skyline. I never thanked you properly, she said, sipping her tea, for saving us. You would have done the same for me, I replied. She nodded. Yes, but that doesn't diminish what you did. You put your life on hold, risked legal trouble, faced down James. You became a mother overnight to children who weren't yours. I thought about those terrifying days, the uncertainty, the fear. But I also remembered the quiet moments reading stories, teaching Emma to braid hair, watching Noah's face light up when he caught his first fish at the cabin. Those moments had changed me too. Family isn't just about blood or obligation, I said finally. It's about showing up when it matters, standing between the people you love and whatever threatens them. It's a choice we make every day. Mia reached over and squeezed my hand. A choice I'm grateful you made. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting golden light across the city, I thought about the strange, unexpected journey that had brought us here. How the worst moments of our lives sometimes lead to the most profound connections. How family bonds can be tested, stretched to breaking point, but with love and courage, they never truly break. I have thought many times about what I would have done differently if I had known what that morning would bring when Mia showed up at my door. The truth is, despite the fear and chaos that followed, I would make the same choice again in a heartbeat. Because that's what family does. We catch each other when we fall. We hold space for healing. We remind each other that no matter how dark things get, dawn always comes again. Have you ever had to step up for family in a crisis? Share your story in the comments below. If this resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share with someone who might need to hear that they are not alone in their family struggles. Thank you for listening to my story, and remember that sometimes the strongest people are those who reach out for help when they need it most.